Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and I'm back with another edition of Yarn Love where I take a closer look at a beautiful yarn and tell you all about it. And in this edition, we're going to be taking a closer look at Caron Simply Soft. Now, Caron Simply Soft has been around for a long time, and I'm sure you're all familiar with their beautiful solids. But did you know there are so many other kinds of Caron Simply Soft out there? Stripes, ombre, camo, speckle, tweeds, paints, the Caron Simply Soft collection, even more. Over 100 different colorways of total of this yarn. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of these great options and how well they all mix and match. Okay, now the great thing about Caron Simply Soft is that it is wound as a center pull skein. Sometimes you get lucky enough to have that end sticking out, and sometimes you do have to search for it. But I have found that if I go to the right of the label, I will find the end that comes out of the center, and if I go to the left, I'll find the end that pulls out and is coming from the outside. Now, the plain and solid colors, I guess I should say, of Caron Simply Soft, just straight up Caron Simply Soft, come in 6-ounce balls, and that's 170 grams. The other ones all come in 5-ounce balls or 141 grams. Some of the other specialty ones might have their own weight measurement, but you want to be sure, if you are mixing and matching all these colors, because they do mix and match beautifully, to make sure that you're getting enough of each yarn, especially if you're using one of the more specialty ones. Okay, so let's take a closer look at a couple labels. Here on top, I've got the standard Caron Simply Soft, and on the bottom, I've got one of the beautiful stripes. You can see they're both size 4, medium, or worsted weight, and they both call for a US 8 or 5 millimeter knitting needles or US H8 or 5 millimeter crochet hook. That means, again, these are totally interchangeable, mix and matchable. You can use whatever you like, all together in the same project. I also do want to point out, though, that while the solids are no dye lot, the other ones aren't necessarily no dye lot, so you do want to make sure to get enough of those to finish your project. However, all of them are 100% acrylic and totally machine washable and dryable. I have blankets that I made with this years and years ago, and they look like new and they wash and dry beautifully. So let's take a closer look at some of the other varieties of Caron Simply Soft. Up first here is Caron Simply Soft Tweeds. Now, I did mention earlier you want to always take a closer look at the labels. This one is 97% acrylic and 3% viscose, but still machine washable and dryable, still the same weight, still interchangeable, still same care instructions as the others, so you don't have to worry about that. And this one, you can actually get a pretty decent idea of how it's going to look in the finished garment just by looking at the skein. You've got these beautiful speckles of color in there. This one happens to be the gray heather colorway of the tweeds, and it just gives you that really great tweedy look. Now, if I slide that aside and pull up one more here, we've got paints. This is a really beautiful one. It's not quite self-striping. It creates more of a variegated look, although the sections do seem to be a little bit longer, and it's still 100% acrylic, same weight, and still works in beautifully. This one is the Oceania colorway, and it looks like this one does have a dye lot, so that's something to be aware of as well. Then if I pull that one aside, this one is a lot of fun. The Camo set of Simply Soft, there's 3 different colorways. One of them is the more traditional green camouflage color you might think of. The other one's sort of a bright, I'm not sure exactly what that would camouflage from. This one, I think they call it snow. Yes, snow camo. I really like this one. I think it has really quite a lovely neutral look, and I think can look quite sophisticated depending how you look at it, which isn't something you might normally think of with camouflage. But if you're looking for that traditional green camo, there is a great option in Caron Simply Soft for that as well. Now, this one is one of my favorites, and I'm very much looking forward to using this one in a new pattern coming up on Moogly, the Caron Simply Soft Ombre. You can see here in the picture of the pattern on the label, it creates some really beautiful effects. You're going to have some much longer sections of color with this one, but still that great center pull, still 100% acrylic, easy care, and just a really beautiful yarn. Of course, this comes in many colors as well. There's 5 different colors of the ombre, so definitely check those out as well. Now, if you really want to make some stripes, you want the Caron Simply Soft stripes. The stripes, there's only 2 colorways of right now. There's this one, and there's one that's a fair bit more neutral. But this one is a lot of fun. I didn't necessarily love it when I saw it on the skein, but you'll see the swatches I made here in a few minutes, and I really like the way this one works up. This one is called Jersey Shore, and it certainly is like it's a very exciting color in the skein, but I really, really like the way it works up on the hook and needle. So I'll show you that here in just a moment. And then finally, although there's several more, I could keep going on and on. There's the last one here I want to show you today, Caron Simply Soft Speckle. And this one is a lot of fun. You've got some neutrals with pops of colors. You've got some colors with pops of neutrals. There's some really fun options in the speckle colorway. You can see it works up beautifully here on this baby garment, but I really think this could be a lot of fun. Like I say, you could definitely mix and match these with some of the others and come up with some really beautiful projects all together, whether you're using the solids or the more special colorways of Caron Simply Soft. So now let's go ahead and take a closer look at how it works up on the hook and needles. Okay, here I have a swatch of the Jersey Shore Caron Simply Soft stripes worked up in crochet. Now, that's the thing with crochet. You'll notice that the sections of color seem to get used up in half a row or maybe just a row of this relatively narrow swatch. So that is something you'll need to take into account. That said, just like all the other Caron Simply Softs, it really does slide beautifully on the hook and the needles. You can see I have no issues getting into and out of these stitches with the recommended hook size. Now, of course, you can work very tightly with this yarn to create a stiffer fabric, but even with the recommended size, you get a really beautiful drape with Caron Simply Soft. Now, just for reference here, I've made, I believe it was 4 rows in double crochet, 4 rows in half double crochet, and the last few rows here in single crochet. So you can see too, you'll get a little bit more row, obviously, with the different same color if you use shorter stitches. If you use taller stitches, you'll run through that color quite quickly. Now let's look at it on the knitting needles. I have a pair of square collage knitting needles in the recommended size here, and I've just been knitting this swatch. And you can see how it works up in stockinette with the stripes. I really love the way the stripes worked up here in this knitted swatch. I think they're quite pretty. Like I say, wasn't initially that attracted to this in the skein, but worked up, I think it's really beautiful. Now, one note about this, as I was saying, it glides really beautifully along the hook, the needles, whatever you're using. However, these needles in particular are very, very sharp. So I was finding myself splitting the yarn just a little bit with these. Now, if I set this aside and pull up my other knitted swatch here, this is that snow camo colorway. Get my ends straightened out here a little bit. And this is, like I say, this is the snow camo colorway, just again, knitted up in stockinette. But these are Brittany needles, and because they're wood, of course, they're a fair bit duller here on the ends. And that was really an advantage with this yarn. I found that, like I say, it doesn't split very easily, but if it's going to split, it's because you're just going ahead and splitting it with that sharp needle or hook. So as long as the hook or needle style you're using aren't overly sharp, you shouldn't have any trouble with splitting the yarn. In terms of frogging it, let's go ahead and pull up another crochet swatch. Those are always a little bit more fun to frog than the knit ones, of course. Here we are. Here is that snow camo worked up in crochet, so you can get an idea of what that looks like. Creates a little bit more of a camo look, actually, than the knitting, which almost seems to get a stripe effect. You get more of a camo effect with the crochet. Let me turn it around here, and you can see it frogs beautifully. No issues with Caron Simply Soft frogging at all. I will say I have found it to be remarkably consistent color to color. I have made many, many projects in Caron Simply Soft over the years, and I will tell you, I can't remember ever running into a knot. I'm sure I must have because I've used so much of it, and that's simply the nature of yarn. But I've been working with it for a little bit here again, and I haven't found any thin, lumpy, tied bits, nothing like that. It hasn't fuzzed up from use. Over the years, like I say, I have a blanket I made, I think, back in 2010 or 2011, maybe even before that. In fact, I think it was before that. And so it's gotten a little bit of fuzziness over the years, but it still really looks really sharp, almost new. So I'm quite pleased with that. It obviously works great for crochet or knitting. It's a very popular yarn in both, and it's perfect for beginners. This is one of the first yarns I used as a beginner crocheter. When I finally knew to pick a nice smooth yarn so I could see my stitches, I really gravitated towards Caron Simply Soft, both for its feel, because it's incredibly soft, and its affordability, and the ability to get it at just about every craft store and big box store. You can see it's even got some great squish. It's not super squishy. It's a little bit slicker of a yarn, but it really does have a really great hand feel. It is very nice and soft and smooth. And so if you like the feel of acrylic, I think you'll really, really enjoy this yarn. So I really hope you'll give Caron Simply Soft another look. In addition to the 43 different colorways in the solids, you've got over 50 additional options here that you can play with. Like I say, they're perfect for mixing and matching. They're easily available. You can go to yarnspirations.com or go to the link in the description. Go to mooglyblog.com for this yarn love, and you can check it out and see just how easy it is to get all these yarns, mix, match, and create your own perfect project. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this yarn love video, and I hope you'll give Caron Simply Soft a try. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Moogly YouTube channel and click that bell so you'll always be notified when we go live. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and have a great day.